morning, grinders. Welcome to the DFS pregame show here on RotoGrinders. I'm Jordan Cooper, aka BlenderHd, blenderhd. You can follow me there on Twitter. And this is the show, as you should know already, right? Most people listening to the show, you know what goes on. We talk a little bit about yesterday's slate in MLB. Maybe not NBA. NBA. Is anyone playing today in NBA? Is anyone? All I've seen, I haven't played NBA DFS. I'm done. I'm playing MLB. But I still see it in my Twitter timeline. Apparently, everyone is out today in the NBA. Everyone. I saw yesterday, this guy's out tomorrow. This guy's out tomorrow. That guy's out tomorrow. Who's playing? Who knows? But we'll have Grinders live, right? You could check that out on this channel for free. Got Grinders live. So hit that notification bell. Let you know when we go live later today. Hit the thumbs up button, right? Give me the thumbs for the apple juice. Hit the subscribe button if you're new here. And yeah, so crunch time also. You need crunch time for NBA especially. You could sign up for RotoGrinders Premium and get that for a half an hour before lock tonight. Hit the link in the description. Get $10 off your first month of RotoGrinders Premium. And I see everyone in the YouTube chat. It's Casual Friday, casual time. It's always casual here anyway, right? I see you guys in the chat. Matt Mears, Frederick Doot, Max Coach, GR Sauceda 12, Card Fan, Jupocalypse, Brett Garrettson, Superman's here. The Man of Steel. Okay? The Man of Steel, you know what he's impervious to everything. He's impervious. We think kryptonite is the only thing he's not impervious to. But I think Superman wasn't impervious to Patrick Corbin last night. No one's impervious to Patrick Corbin when he's not pitching well. Patrick Corbin, what a disaster last night. Wow. And he was the highest owned pitcher. Right, I believe so. I was just going through. I don't know why we don't have the large field GPP in results DB yet, but I pulled up the 555, which is a 12 entry max. So I'm just clicking through some of this stuff. Like I said, this is what I do in the morning. So like you're seeing the same process that I would go through. So like I haven't even looked at this yet. So let's see, Utical. Let's take a look at some of these guys. Right, we got a couple up here, and they got 12 lineups. But look, Patrick Corbin, 55% owned. But it's not like people look. Utical had 100% of them dead. Couldn't win with him. Right, minus 18.7. Minaya, yeah, that was the popular combo. Basically, Corbin, Minaya, and a Nat stack. Right, you got Soto, you got Bell. Then the A's seemed to be owned last night on Draftkings. Yeah, they were cheap on Draftkings. They were much more expensive on FanDuel. Then we got some Royals here. The under-owned team was actually probably the Dodgers. Of course, they didn't have Betts. They didn't have Seager in the lineup. That seemed to be the under-owned team. Look at Ricky D. He's like the chalk. Me, chalk. I mean, yeah, maybe up here. Still at 41%, Soto and Bell, but like Bichette, like none. No, basically no Toronto, no Kansas City. Right? No Urias whatsoever. And he was 42% owned. So let me sort this by field. Right? Urias is up here. But yeah, Ricky D, heavily contrarian. Right? Had a bunch of Rich Hill who didn't die. Rich Hill only had 0.35 points, so it's not like he did much better. So what did Ricky D do? I see Toronto. Here we go. Here's us Diamondbacks, right? Diamondbacks. He had Diamondbacks even though he still had 41% Patrick Corbin. So it seems like he made like a lot of hedge type lineups. Austin Gomber going down at pitcher. Yan Gomes, Margot, Grossman. So some Tigers, Diamondbacks, Tigers. Yeah, heavily contrarian on the bats. Who had 41% Charlie Culberson? Nate Lowe, that's Texas. So flex. Moranosaurus flex. Flex with the Texas. Last night's slate. I mean, it's hard to get difference. It's a 5-game slate. Obviously, the Diamondbacks, that was the ultra leverage stack. You stack against the highest owned pitcher. You did that last night. You probably had a good night. Was that the winning lineup? Like Brick 75. Yeah, pretty much. Dodgers, who I think were under-owned. Dodgers, Diamondbacks. That's brick 75 in the 555. Right, we have Urias Minaya. Okay. Chalk pitchers. But then you get Andrew Young, the grand slam from the eighth hitter or whatever. Right, so you got 1, 2, 3, 4, basically a 4-4. Dodgers, Diamondbacks. A Hubro, 5-man Diamondbacks. Chalk Soto. Chalk Will Smith, a catcher. I mean, Smith and Perez were both kind of chalky, and then Guerrero, 24. Still chalky pitcher combination. Didn't have Corbin, obviously, but Urias Minaya. Neil P. Rao had Skubal. Skubal screwed him. But Turner, Solak at 3% owned. So basically Texas and the Dodgers. Didn't get him enough. Just not enough. Skubal screwed him. Or you could say, some of these Texas guys didn't score enough. There's another Bro lineup. Texas, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 against Rich Hill. Austin Meadows, not much. Trey Turner, not much. Justin Turner, the Turners, right there. Now, obviously, there's a smaller field contest. This is 401 entries. So you don't have to score absurdly, but you could still, the correlated lineups still in. Why not? 401, it's easier. You don't need the nuts in these smaller field contests, so you should be more inclined to correlate. Do you need the correlation? No. But usually in the smaller field contests, because you don't need the nuts. Now, it's very rare that anyone has the nuts. Now, on a 5-game slate, it's more likely. Today, we have a 14-game slate. Tonight is the biggest slate so far of the MLB season. So playing a 14-game slate is much different than playing a 5-game slate. So like yesterday, for instance, in the early slate. Remember, yesterday in the pregame show, if you weren't there, I went through my entire process of building my lineups on FanDuel because we had that early slate. So it was like right after the show. I figured, why not? I'll just show it to you. People ask, people email me. It'd be nice to show how you put together lineups, you personally, rather than like review others, talk about strategy, say play whoever you want. So that's what I did yesterday. I played $222 worth of entries and I got $166 back, which is normal. That's normal. Okay? That's happening to you. That's normal. That's 90% of the time. That's what's going to happen. When I say that I lose 90% of the time in MLB, even though I'm very profitable, because you bink 1 or 2 times, that's what I mean. You don't take 222 and then you just lose it all. You get 166 back or whatever. But yesterday, the chalk kind of came in, right? The Padres were a little bit more owned than I thought they would be, because remember, yesterday we didn't even have ownership projections. I kind of just looked and I judged it for myself. I thought the Padres would be a little less owned. I thought they would be like the 3rd most owned team. I thought it would be the Braves, the Twins, then the Padres. The White Sox, I thought Abreu would be higher owned because I didn't think first base was all that, I don't know, attractive. Abreu, I thought it would be closer to 30% owned. He came in at 14% owned. So actually, I got a lot more leverage with him. But I had a bunch of Padres. So that was the teams that I was going for yesterday. The Padres, the Marlins, and the White Sox. The White Sox disappointed. But this was my best lineup, 208.3. Plenty of Lynn. And you can see, I played 1, 2, 3, a 3, 3. No, this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, a 4, 3, 1. So I was playing 4-3-1s. I was playing 3-3 X's. Because on a 5-game slate, on a large field contest, you're more likely to need the nuts. And there may not be a team that goes off for 1 million runs. So maybe four-man stacks don't get paid off. Still had 4-man stacks, but not as many as I would have in like a 14-game slate. So you can see here, compared to the winning lineup, like it's chalk city. Like the lowest owned player in this lineup is 17% owned. Right, because Acuna got there at 55% owned. Right. Lynn got there, obviously, but I had plenty of Lynn. Machado at 30% owned at third base. He got there. Marte was pretty much the only the Marlin that you needed. They scored 6 runs, but kind of got all spread out. So this was my best lineup. Second best lineup. Take a look here. So you have Abreu. See, like Marcano was 2.1% owned on FanDuel. So I had the Padres 1, 2, 3, 4. Acuna. Then I had the 3-man White Sox. Didn't get there. I mean, Robert got 18, but look, Robert's 8% owned. Anderson was 14% owned, and Abreu was 14% owned. So, like, the difference between these lineups, like the White Sox did something. Like, this could have won. 204. It's 34 points, 35 points behind. I mean, that's pretty much, a home run and a half or so. Do I have a lineup that doesn't have Acuna in it? Let's take a look. 186. Yeah, this is one without Acuna. Still Grissom. Still Marlins, Padres. Polanco didn't do much in Abreu. Disappointed. But let's say you took away Acuna, 55% owned home run. So let's say you take off 22 points here. Half the field gets 22 points off. And Abreu, let's say Abreu's the one that hits the home run instead of Acuna. So that's like that's a 44-point swing, which means this lineup, what's the difference between these two scores? 50-something? Close. You tell me that Acuna is 55% owned and Abreu is 14% owned? I'm happy with my Abreu exposure. I'm happy for being under on Acuna. It's not like I didn't play him. I didn't play him to that extent. I was under on the Braves. It's a 6-game, 5-game slate. It was a 4-game slate. That early slate. So I'm gonna be under. I'm not gonna not play the Braves. I could have X'd them out. If you tell me that Abreu is going to be 4 times less owned, does Abreu have 4 times less a shot at hitting a home run than Ronald Acuna? No, yeah, he's close enough. Yeah, Acuna is better than Abreu. I get it. Yes, I agree, but not 4 times better. So I don't mind that. But I just thought Abreu was going to be like 30% owned and Acuna would be like 50% owned. I'm like, I still think that's positive for Abreu. Not to be 60% more likely Acuna to hit a home run? No. So I'm going to play more Abreu. Play more of the White Sox. The White Sox were under-owned on FanDuel. They didn't get there. That's why I turned $222 into $166. But had I just X'd out the Braves completely, I would have barely gotten any money back at all. And I could have still won with the Braves. Could have still won. I mean, all you needed was Acuna as a one-off. I mean, Swanson was okay, right? Swanson got 18.5. But it's not like the Braves. Like the 4-man Brave stacks didn't really get there. Definitely not in comparison to the Padres. I mean, even Arias was 18% owned. Got 22. There were multiple paths to get there, but you needed Padres. Padres, probably Acuna, because he got 28 points. So close, but no cigar. I was in the right direction, but not exactly there. So you can see here, look. A bunch of my lineups up, 166-1. I'm transparent, I show you. Then you move on to the next day. That's it. Okay, it took a shot, done. We can take a look at the lineups that are up here. Like that winning lineup, Seth 37 ISO, the second place lineup. Pineda, that was contrarian. And then just a mess. Yeah, this looks like just a messy lineup. 1, 2, 3, 2. But I guess messy lineups could have gotten there. It's a 4-game slate. Messy lineups are fine. There, but using the low-owned pitcher. Pineda up there. Jay Girardo. Let's take a look at this. We got San Diego, 4-man, 2-2 with Jay Cave. Like, this isn't a bad lineup. Jay Cave does anything, hits a double or something. Double RBI. This is the guy that wins. So now with 12% owned, okay. Like the bottom of the order from Minnesota wasn't that owned. It's not that complicated to put together winning lineups. You just, you can't just fret over the results though. Let's look in the YouTube chat. Remember, it's Casual Friday. If you've got any questions, feel free to post them in the YouTube chat. If you're listening on the podcast, hi podcast people. You can't see me waving. I don't know if people realize that you could listen to the audio. You could download it on your podcatcher, wherever you get your podcasts. Search for the RotoGrinders DFS pregame show. So if you're on YouTube and you're like, oh, well, some days I'm not going to be here. I don't want to watch the YouTube archive, the past show. Well, you could just subscribe to the podcast. Listen on your commute. Jesse Atfield says, morning. With such a wide range of variance in MLB, is your cash game lineup more suited for 3, 5, 10-man tournaments instead of 50-50s? No. Remember, I don't play cash games. I just play the projection system. I'm just going to play the optimal from whatever the optimal median lineup is. That's what I'm going to play. I invested $20,000 for the season, playing 10% on multiple sites. And then just whatever's happened at the end, it's the end. It's like an index fund. So I don't play cash games. But yes, there's a lot of variance in MLB, which means you're going to go on streaks a lot. The difference of a 2v2 could be 70 points. Who knows? That's why I like playing on multiple sites, spread out my action, play a lot of head-to-heads. Just to mitigate my downside. But still, it's really what's in September. It's April 16th. Remember, I just took 20. That's how I'm playing cash games. Take a sum of money, 10% of my bankroll. There you go. It's gone. That 20,000's gone. It's being worked on. It's just like my stock portfolio. So I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to think about my cash game lineup, my 50-50s, my head-to-heads. I just enter them throughout the day on my phone. Post my head-to-heads. Then 5 minutes before lock, press a button. That's the lineup. Move on. I'm working on my GPP stuff. Nate Branshaw asks, are you less likely to play pitchers in the same game for GPPs? Yes. Doesn't mean you don't, but I'm less likely because obviously only one of them could get the win. Which on DraftKings is 4 points and on FanDuel is 6 points. 6 points, obviously. You can't play two pitchers on FanDuel, so you don't have to worry about that. But it's not like the be-all, end-all. Oh, I can't possibly make sure to make groups like that. No, I don't. But I'm less likely. That's a good way to phrase it. See, Nate's not dumb. Using terms like more likely and less likely, tend to and not tend to, not do you or do you not. Do you always, do you never? That doesn't exist. But Bongo Fiesta, that can't be his real name. How much longer will the Rangers cleanup hitter stop keeping priced 2,000 even though he hits a home run every day? What, Adolis Garcia? Is he 2,000 today also? Let's see. Ronald Coley, you just wouldn't have played Acuna as a one-off, right? No, you could play him as a one-off. I said this yesterday. You're thinking too linearly. You could play him as a one-off in a lineup with a completely contrarian lineup construction. Yeah, sure. Why not? Stop thinking that you have to or you don't have to. It depends. Well, he's 55% owned and he's part of the highest owned stack. Yeah, that's a reason that you're giving me reasons not to play him in certain lineups. The keyword there is certain. He's also the highest projected player on the slate. So in a lineup where you don't need any more leverage in it, why don't you play the highest projected player on the slate? You play him. If your lineup is already somewhat, even if you're not playing a Brave stack, like yesterday on FanDuel, if you're playing the Padres stack and Lynn and to another like popular one-off or something, maybe that's the lineup you don't play Acuna in. If you're playing off the board, if you played who I don't even remember if you played a Pirate stack, played a 4-man Pirate stack on FanDuel, and you want to play Acuna in that lineup, go for it. And Pineda, and you left 5,000 on the table also, you go. It's not about individual players. It's about the lineups. I say this all the time. I say it to the same people. I don't understand how you don't get it. Lineups, not players. Frederick Duke, with such a large slate, are you more inclined to spread yourself across more teams to stack or focus on a few specific, potentially under-owned team stacks? Neither or both. Remember, you're thinking too linearly. That's a question about diversification, not of strategy. My goal is to find under-owned stacks that have higher expectations than what they'll be owned. On a 14-game slate, you could find 10 of them, half of them, to some extent. Do you want to spread it out? Do you want, I want to get exposure to 14 stacks and have a little bit of each? You could. Or you could say, I'm going to take the 3 that I like, that I think are the most under-owned for their expectation, and build 150 lineups around them. Both are the same. They're exactly the same. If the expected value of all these lineups are all about the same, then it's just a matter of what diversification you want of them. So you could do both. You could do either. You could do neither. You could say, I think this is the best stack, the most under-owned stack, and play all 150 lineups and just lock 5 guys in. You could do that. But most of your lineups are going to be correlated to one another. If that stack puts up 1 run, you're dead. All your lineups are dead. Which is fine. But if that stack puts up 16 runs, you got 150 shots at first place. Do you want that disparity? If we play this out 1,000,000 times, this slate 1,000,000 times, no matter which way you choose, you're going to end up with X dollars, the same amount regardless. If the EV of all the lineups are about the same. Question is, do you want these swings, or do you want like more in the middle? So that's a diversification. There's no strategy to that. So you could play a 14-game slate and say, I'm gonna pick 4 stacks and mix and match them, and that's it. If those 4 teams do well, I have a shot. Those 4 teams don't, and these other teams do well, then I don't. You could do that. Michael Dompier asks, tonight's a huge 14-game slate. Can you briefly review stacking strategy? Comment a little. This varies from maybe an 8-game slate. No, on a 14-game slate, it just means there's more chances for one team to put up a ton of runs. There's 28 teams on the slate. And in large field GPPs, someone will own every stack. I'm not talking about an individual player, but there will be an entry in there with a 5-man on DraftKings, let's say. A 5-man, all 28 teams, there will be a 5-man stack of. In FanDuel, all 28 teams, there will be a 4-man stack of. So if there's a team that puts up 16 runs today, in large field GPPs, that most likely will be the winner, no matter if they're 1% owned. There's someone. It's going to be 50,000, 70,000 entries. Even if a team is 1% owned and 50,000 entries, there's still 500 lineups that have that stack. 200 lineups that have that stack. Less than 1% owned. And there's 28 chances for that to happen. 4-game, 5-game slate, maybe the highest scoring team is only 5 runs. And the 4-man or 5-man stack, that's not enough runs for that whole stack to get there. 2 guys get there, but not 5 guys. Not 4 guys on FanDuel. So because of the likelihood is now increased. That one of these teams, one of these 28 teams, pays off a 4 or 5 man stack. I'm more inclined to stack now. Less inclined to do 3-3-1-1 type lineups. So like on FanDuel, I will be playing primarily 4-4s. Some 4-3-1s. DraftKings, I would only be playing 5 man stacks. I guess you could get away with some 4-4s. I guess you could get away with some 4-3-1s, but I'd be much more inclined. Like I said, it's not always or never. But on DraftKings, on large slates, when I played GPPs on DraftKings, now the DraftKings GPPs, it's like $15, $18 for the large field GPP per entry versus FanDuel, where it's $4 or $5. That's why I'm playing more on. I'm playing my multi-entry stuff on FanDuel, so I can play 150 lineups and not spend $3,000. So I'm playing the large field stuff. Maybe I'll put the small field stuff on DraftKings, unless they have a contest that's under $10, and then I'm more inclined to play 100 lineups. But yeah, the larger slates, like I wouldn't consider anything like on DraftKings. If I built 150 lineups of DraftKings, I would have 100% 5 man stacks. Whether or not it's 5-1-1-1, 5-2-1, 5-3, whatever. The primary stack would be 5 man in every single lineup on these large slates. The larger the slate gets, the more correlation you want. The more that correlation is important, I guess. That's a better way to put it. The less the games that are on the slate, that means the less likely one of these, there's only 8 teams. It's less likely the highest scoring team may only have 5 runs. Does the stack pay off at 5 runs? Probably not. Obviously, you could have a 4-game slate. You could have a team that scores 15 runs in a 4-game. You're right. There's only 8 teams on the slate. There's only 8 teams that could do that versus 28 teams, no matter who they are. Obviously, we got weather issues today. We got a Coors game, but the Coors game, I think it may snow there. I mean, there's a weather issue there. I mean, according to Roth. Take a look. Freezing, snow showers. It's football weather. Chance of rain in New York. But Roth seems optimistic about that. Boston, there may be a problem. Kansas City, there may be a problem. Right. He's predicting possibly the Toronto-Kansas City game being postponed. Probably before lock. So now it's a 13-game slate. This is still a big slate. Let's see. J10 Blender, can you explain the RG extension when it shows margin? Margin is rake. Entries is how many entries are in a contest. Pays 20%. That's what percentage of the field gets paid. The min cash. So what the lowest payout spot is how much times you're buying. Obviously, prizes is prizes. What's the prize pool? First place, 16.6%. How much percentage goes to first place? And said, which contest is best for you? There's no such thing as best. All that information is showing you is what type of lineups should you be building. There's no such thing as best contests in DFS. All it is what types of lineups should I be building for this contest? You should never be building a lineup and then entering a contest. You should always be entering a contest, seeing what types of lineups based on the payout structure, based out on the field size that you should be building for this contest. 1,000 person contest, winner take all, is different than a 1,000 person contest when only 10% to first place. 10% and it's really flat. Winner take all, go nuts. I mean, the only person who gets paid is the first place spot. 50,000 entries. Very flat payout structure. First place only gets 10%. Much different contest than 50,000 entries, and first place gets 33% of the prize pool. And second place gets 10% of the prize pool. By the time you get to 10th place, you're getting a set of steak knives. Much different contest. Obviously, you look at the rake. But I mean, most GPPs are raked at about the same rate. Obviously, the higher stakes you go, the lower the rake you have. But there's no best. I played contests with 16% rake, no problem. Top-heavy payout structures. A lot of high field size. I know what types of lineups I need to build. Not chalk lineups, right? Playing a 200-man contest with flat payout structure up top or whatever. Now you know what type. Oh, okay. You want to play the chalk stack? Go play the chalk stack. You could play a fairly high projected lineup and just go, I'm just going to play 5x and play the 2 chalk pitchers, and you could win a 200-person contest that way. So it's really the field size, the payout structure, and that determines what types of lineups should you be building, not what contest is best. Let's see. Right. Alex Santi said it in the YouTube chat. The RG info tells you what lineups you should build, and if you decide you're comfortable with the leverage, risk, and et cetera required. Right. There you go. It also shows you overlay, right? You use that extension. You go, oh, is there a contest that haven't been filled enough or whatever? I don't use the extension. So I don't really enter contests on desktop. I barely use the sites or websites to upload. Yeah, that's the typically I'm going to Draftkings or FanDuel just to upload my lineups that I spit out from lineup HQ, copied and pasted into Excel, upload. Most of the time I'm entering contests on my phone. So I don't get the RG extension. But I get C. I mean, I play the same contest pretty much every day. But like if you're playing on DraftKings, like let's go here, the bat projections as of 10:33 a.m. or whatever. Right, we don't have no ownership, we have no nothing. If we go to the stacks page, I mean, woo, a lot of stacks. So I'm going to set, for instance, let's just set it for 5-3. Make it so that we don't even have the one-off problem. Right? So I'm going to set it to 100%. Build rules. Let's set unique players to 1. This is DraftKings, so let's go up to 49,000. There you go to that. Let's go to 150, just the normal number, 150. But everything else here, this is all just whatever. Default. Let's just see. I haven't looked. I have no clue who's pitching, who's what. I know we got what? DeGrom on the slate in Colorado. We got Bueller. We got who else? Who else do we got? I don't even remember. There's someone else, right? Scherzer, right. Okay, there we got Scherzer. Frankie Montes. He looks to be a little too cheap on FanDuel. But Jesus, everyone seems too cheap on FanDuel. Do you have to play him on FanDuel? I don't know. So I'm running 150 lineups on DraftKings. But I'm telling it to give me 5 threes. Just give me 5 threes. Just to see. Like, I don't have to even know who's playing today. I don't. All that work is done for you. So if I wanted to show up at 6:30 and not know who the hell's playing, well, I'll be able to figure out, like, who's going to be the chalk and who's not. The ownership projections are going to be there. The player projections are there. So it's like I'm going to build 150 lineups. Not that I'm going to play these lineups. These may not be good lineups to play because they may not be leveraged enough for a large field contest. But it'll give me the sense of who the chalk is, who the best projected stacks are and pitchers and everything. If I just built 5-3 by default. That's the only reason I'm doing this. Not because I want to build these lineups. It's It's a research tool. And I can do the same thing on FanDuel. Like it says Montes here. Let's do this on FanDuel. Let's go 150. Let's set the min down to 33.5, I guess. Set this default. Put the stacks on 4-4. 100%. Let's do this. I assume I could build these at the same time. Never actually tried building with the regular builder on 2 sites at the same time. No, okay, I guess it worked. I thought maybe it slows down. It tells you can't from the same IP address. I have no idea. So that'll work. Let that keep on working. Like I said, I'm not doing this because I'm building these lineups. I'm doing this as a research tool. I've not even looked. I don't even know. I made dummy lineups last night. That's why I knew that. Okay, I knew DeGrom is in. I knew Scherzer's in. I knew some of the pitchers. But other than that, I just put together a line just so I could enter contests. But I have no idea. But I could just show up. I could show up to the player projections and the ownership projections, which we don't have currently. Not this early in the day. And then just run lineups just to see. What are the higher projected lineups? What do they look like? That's it. That's all I want to know. Don't need to know who's playing. Don't need to know when. Don't need to know any baseball stats. No nothing. Dario Rosenstock. Since the larger the slate, the more correlation matters. Wouldn't you also want to play more 4-3 than anything, 5-3 than anything else? Like not just more 5-mans. Well, how about on a 14-game slate, there's one guy that hits 3 home runs in another game, and that stack doesn't get there? How do you have him in that lineup in a 5-3? You can't. So in large field contests, remember what I said yesterday. You can't think linearly. That question is thinking linearly. In a large field contest, the closer to the nuts you need. How do you get to the nuts? Technically, the nuts is going to be a bunch of one-offs. Good luck trying to put together that lineup. Rarely anyone ever ends up on that type of lineup or puts together the 8 guys it's very rare. So like the nut lineup, the lineup that scores 320 points, like no one has. The winning lineup has 260. So the larger the field of contest you're in, you give yourself the opportunity to have those one-offs. So in a large field contest, you're right, correlation matters, is important. But also in large field contests, it's also important to get closer to the nuts. So 5-3 gives you the most correlation, but it doesn't give you as much of the opportunity to get the nuts. So does that mean you play 5-1-1-1 or do you play 5-3? Well, it depends on the lineup. They all have pros, they all have cons. The pros of the 5-1-1-1 is that you could get that one-off that you need to have. Well, what happens if there is no need to have one-off? Well, then the 5-3 is probably better because it's a little bit more correlative. There's weighing. There's no one right answer. Is this worth it? It's just like with projection and leverage. Well, this lineup projects well, but it's all chalky. Well, this lineup is completely contrarian, but it has a horrible projection. You have to weigh that. So like in a small field contest, you don't need the nuts. Right? So and also correlation is less important. Smaller field contests. So you'd go, in smaller field contests, why can't I just do 3-3-1-1 on a 14-game slate? It's like, well, also because you don't need the nuts. You don't need those one-off. The guy that Andrew Young yesterday may not be needed on a 14-game slate. He could have put up 46 points and not be in the winning lineup in a 400-person contest because, he's literally unowned. Like, there are guys in those contests that are just literally unowned. 0% owned. They put up 40 points. You don't need them. Large field contest, Maybe they're 1%, 0.8% owned. Maybe you'll need them. So in the smaller field contest, yeah, correlation is less needed, but you also don't need the nuts. So maybe it's just easier to build a lineup that's 5-3 in smaller field contests. But I don't need the core. You're right, you don't. But you also don't need the nuts. So just pick the 2 teams that score the most points, and most likely you could win a 400-person contest. So you see, it's like smaller field contests, it's correlation is less important, but also one-offs are less important. So there's a balance there in the small field contest. What do you do? So that's why I'm saying there's no one thing. There's no, do you do this or do you do that? You're weighing a bunch of variables and going, like a stereo equalizer, right? Do they even have those things anymore? Like, well, this lineup is fine because it does this. It's a little less over here. Okay, this is a good balance. Okay, this is a balance in a different direction, but about the same in the other way. You can have 1,000 lineups that all have about the same expected value that look differently, different contests. One's a 5-1-1-1, one's a 5-3, one's a 4-3-1. But they have different teams in there. Maybe a 5-3 with the 2 chalk teams and the 2 chalk pitchers is not a good lineup in a large field GPP. You had a 5-3 with that's contrarian is great. So it's not like, well, why is this one 5-3 lineup bad and why is this one 5-3 lineup good? Well, because there's other variables than just the construction of the lineup. Let's see. Michael Dompier, you're asking about videos, the best way to export lineups. If you go to this button on Lineup HQ, this question mark, it'll give you all the videos, all the Lineup HQ tutorial videos. So yeah, so if you ever need to know how to do anything, rebuild, late swap, editing entries, uploading entries, copying settings, and whatever, all the little videos are here. All the links to them are there. Michael Dompier, don't worry about duplication. Especially on a 14-game slate. Don't even. Dude, it's been 16 days of MLB. We played a 4-game slate yesterday. I didn't even consider duplication. I didn't even consider it. That's how little you should care about it. There's so many combinations in baseball. I don't even think 2-game slate, maybe. 2-game slate, sure. 3-game slate, okay. We're getting a 4-game slate. I'm barely thinking about it. Barely. 5-game slate, probably didn't even cross my mind. So don't worry about duplication. You're overcomplicating things. Highly overcomplicating things. Okay, let's take a look at DraftKings. Okay, we're getting a lot of Brandon Nimmo. A lot of Frankie Montas as it's SP2. Oh, pay down? Okay, the bat always loves cores, right? If cores plays, let's see. So let's take a look at the stack summary. Getting Mets, we're getting Yankees. In Yankee Stadium, yeah, they look a little too cheap. Of course, you got your good friend Rugned. It's the bat, right? So you're going to have Odor in a bunch of lineups, of course, when he's 2,900. Okay, so we got Mets, Yankees, Mariners. What's going on with the Mariners today? Are they just cheap? Who are the Mariners playing? Where's Seattle? They're playing at home with a 4-run total against Urquidy. They don't seem to project all that well. Or are they just really cheap? They're 3,200, 3,400. Seegers, yeah, they're just cheap. So what do these lineups look like? If Seattle stacks are coming up, I'm assuming I'm getting high-priced pitchers. So here we go. Montas, Scherzer, Heaney, DeGrom, Hauser, and then a whole bunch of other things. So Montas right now is like the SP2, right? 7,300 against Detroit. Okay, I get it. I'm just concerned with what the Seattle lineups. I'm assuming they have what? Something like DeGrom and Scherzer in it or something? Okay, so here's a 3-man. Montes Scherzer. I'm looking for the 5-man. Do we have any 5-mans? I could look at the combo summary. Let's see. 5-3. Yeah, no, we got Seattle Mets. 5-man. Is that to fit the expensive Mets? Because Pete Alonso is expensive. Let's go to player exposures. Okay, let's see. Can we find 5-man Seattle? I see the 3-mans. Okay, okay, here we go. Yeah, with Mets. DeGrom, Montes, Seattle, and Mets. It spends 49.6. Right, so there's Mets. Here's another one with the Mets. Are there any DeGrom Scherzer combinations? That has like the vomit stack combinations. I can't search for 2 at the same time, so I always have to do this. So let's see. I got DeGrom in here because he's the lower owned one. So I'm looking for Scherzer. Do we have any of those types of lineups? Here we go. Scherzer, DeGrom. So basically Cleveland. Well, because Naylor's cheap. Didn't get the 2. Then basically you're playing the Yankees stack, but you're not playing Judge or Stanton. Okay. I guess you can, right? Bottom of the order type of thing. Okay. I get it. That's what it wants you to do over there. Let's take a look down here. So I found one. Okay, here, Pirate stack. Okay. Then now we start making sense. Right, Polanco, Reynolds, Newman, Moran, Frazier. Yeah, they're cheap. Do Scherzer, DeGrom. Then you play Sanchez, Odor, Judge. Okay. Okay, so I see that the double stud lineups. What they kind of look like. I got 2 of them there. Here's another one, Pirate stack. But understand, these are the lineups that come in the top 150 of the projection. So I didn't put in any stack. I didn't put any exposures. Just tell me the highest projected 5-3 stacks. What do they look like? And based on that, on DraftKings, as of right now, with the Bad X projections, obviously we don't have starting lineups. These are all with projected starting lineups. So from this, it looks like, based on the bat, that would be the Mets, the Yankees, the Mariners. Like the Dodgers only show up in the top 2. Like here are the 5-hitter stacks right here. So I get a sense of the slate based on the projections. I could also look at the bat has a stack projection page. So I could look at DK overview. Now this will have everyone on the slate. So like there's like a split, like it has the 2:00 games right here. Obviously with showdown pricing. So that's why it comes up like that. So I could sort this. I could look at ceiling. It's like top 25, top 50. This is based on price. So it's all based on value. So that's where it sees the Yankees right here. Yankees. I'm assuming the Mariners are going to be, if I go by point per dollar, right here, Pirates, Indians, Mariners. That's why they're coming up based on the bat projections. So that's one way. So I don't have to necessarily run all these lineups. I could look at this Bad X stack projection page for DK. And I could list out all the stacks if you wanted to show, if you want to see sequential, non-sequential. So I'd be able to look at this and go, okay, if I left everything alone, these are the teams it's gonna like, based on point per dollar only. But that's why it's set point per dollar. But you also see the ceiling and the ceiling point per dollar. So like the Mets have the highest ceiling, they're in cores, but not the highest ceiling point per dollar. But like the Indians only have an 89.9 ceiling, but have the highest point per dollar based on their price. So this is a tool that you can use if you have the bat projections. The RG projections have the smash tool, which is not up yet. You could use that the very similar way. It'll have a value column. Value percentage is very similar to what the bat page shows you. But let's take a look at FanDuel. All right, Montes, 60% of lineups. So even paying down 7,500. Scherzer, DeGrom, okay, this makes sense. In a 4-4 lineup, Yankees, Mets. Yankees, I mean, very similar. I could go to this stack projections and go to FanDuel and look at the same exact thing. Point per dollar. Yankees, Rangers, Indians, Reds. What are the Rangers? Texas. Let's take a look. Right, if I look at the stack summary, 4-hitter stacks. Yankees, Mets, Nationals. Like, where are the Rangers? Where's Texas? 15. Okay, you just look at plenty of them. They're probably cheaper. That's why with Montes' projection, you're not going to get as much Texas. Texas would probably be in cheaper, with cheaper pitchers, with expensive pitchers. Washington, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Texas. So this is what I could do to just get a sense of what the slate looks like. Like I'm showing you. It's like people probably watching this, going, I didn't look at who's pitching. I didn't look at any baseball stats. Like they're gonna look at like, no, this is the research I do. And go like, no, you must be leaving it out. You must be Jordan. You must be leaving it out. You must be spending. You're probably gonna get off this show, this pregame show, and then spend the next 6 hours looking through baseball stats on who the best plays are. I'm going to say no. Like you just saw what I do. I'm not hiding anything. I don't hide anything. Obviously, I don't have to run 150 lineups. I've done this so often. I can just look at the projections like team by team and go, okay, they're cheap. They're not cheap. This cheap, right? You take a look at this page and go, okay, that's what's showing up, right? Take a look at the weather, obviously. I mean, Froth will update that. Right, and I'm just looking. Okay, what are these combinations? 4-4s, 4-4s, 4-4s. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. You know, doesn't mean they can be chalky though. I don't have ownership yet, so like I have no idea. Is it worth playing the Yankees? Who knows what their ownership is going to be? They're cheap on FanDuel. I mean, Sanchez is cheap. Torres is cheap. Odor is okay. He's cheaper on DraftKings. If the Yankees are going to be chalk in a 14-game slate, to me it doesn't matter. The Mets, if they play that game in Colorado, maybe the Mets are chalky. Is it worth playing a Montes Mets lineup on FanDuel? Maybe it isn't, even though it comes up the most. But based on this, maybe I see later in the day that Cleveland's only going to be owned at nothing % on FanDuel. But he's coming up, but their projections are actually pretty good based on the bat. Well, now I'm going to play a bunch of Indians, right? I don't even know who the Indians are playing. Who are the Indians playing? Cincinnati. Oh, they're playing in Cincinnati. Who are they playing against? Who's pitching? Is DeSclafani? Is that DeSclafani? I think it's DeSclafani that's pitching for Cincinnati. Is he still on Cincinnati? No, he plays for San Francisco. I know DeSclafani was on the slate. Who's pitching? Cleveland, Cincinnati. Logan Allen. He's pitching for Cleveland. Who's pitching for Cincinnati? Jeff Hoffman. Oh, okay. Now I see. Oh, he had a good start. Are people going to jump on board him? Right? He had one good start. Right? That first start. 36 points. And then he walked 3 guys. He turned into Jeff Hoffman the next start. Are people going to be swayed by that? People are going to play Hoffman? I'll play the Indians against them. But that's what I'm looking at. I'm showing it to you. I don't know. People question. Like, no, this can't be the way. This is the way. I'm telling you, this is the way. You have to get past, in order to get into this mode. Is there a right way or the wrong way? No. I'm not going to be as stubborn to say that, just like with anything. There's no always, there's no never. I'm going under. You have to fully embrace the fact that the projection model has done all the work for you. Why are you playing Frankie Montas? Because he projects well. Well, why does he project well? And my answer is, I don't care. Doesn't matter to me. Do I trust the model? Yes. That's all that matters. So on FanDuel, it's the highest point per dollar pitcher. DraftKings, he's going to be the top SP2. But does that mean you play Frankie Montas at 60% owned on a 14-game slate? Not necessarily. The higher he gets owned, the less value he has to you. Is there an ownership where you play none of them? No, not necessarily. Play Frankie Montas in a lineup where you're stacking the Pirates. Okay, that's fine. Is there a situation where if the higher that Montas gets owned, like let's take a look. With Oakland, Frankie Montas was 60% owned this slate. It's quite possible maybe I play a Tiger stack or two. A leverage stack against him. Now, if Montas is only on DraftKings as an SP2, Montas ends up being 25% owned. How much value is there in stacking against? Yeah, he'll be the most owned SP2 at 25% owned, but it's also a 14-game slate. There's going to be plenty of other teams that are going to be under-owned. Do I need to play Detroit against the chalk SP2? You could. But you have to weigh that against all the other teams on the slate also. Like if it was a 7-game slate, maybe more likely. Then also Montas would probably be even higher owned. On a 7-game slate, Montas 50% owned. Maybe then I play a bunch of Tigers. The difference in the slate size matters because I have more choices now on a 7-game slate. Even a 7-game slate. Well, you play this chalk team. There's the second highest owned team. You don't have as many choices. And you look and you go, well, this pitcher is going to be 50, 60% owned. And every point against him that I get, more than half the field gets dinged for. I think that's more worth it on a slate of that size. On a 14-game slate, a 1% owned Detroit stack, I could find a 1% owned Pittsburgh. I could find 1% owned stacks that aren't against the somewhat chalky SP2. So I'm less inclined. Doesn't mean I don't do it. It just means I'm less inclined. Doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. It's the obvious leverage spot. You take the super chalky SP2 and you stack against him. But remember, when you stack on a 14-game slate and you're going to take 5 guys on DraftKings, they need to kind of be the highest scoring team on the slate. We have 28 teams on this slate. So if Detroit puts up 5 runs, it hit Montas for 5 runs, it'll kill Montas. But the stack doesn't get there. So, great, I got the Tigers. So 5-man doesn't get there because some other team, right? Texas puts up 12 runs. You don't have the Texas stack, you lost. Well, you didn't get first place. You may not have lost money, but you didn't get first place. But these are the things that you're weighing with one another. But ultimately, I'm going like this whole play with whoever you want and all my facetious replies are based on the fact that, to me, the game starts at the projections. All of this is done for you. If you're RG Premium member, you get the plate IQ projections. If you want to sign up for the bat and get Derek Hardy's projections, get his projections. But once I have the numbers, now it's just my job to build plus EV lineups in whatever directions I want to go. I need to know what the field is going to do. Based on my projections, is the field going in the right way here or the wrong way there? The field is going to overown this team, underown that team, underown these constructions, overown those constructions. That's what I'm judging, and then playing lineups appropriately based on that. But I've not gotten to the. Is Tommy Edman good against Zach Leffler? I don't know. 7.454. That's all I know. I just have a number. I trust the model. So here are the numbers. You could get rid of the player names for all I care. Now it's just my job to build plus EV lineups. Should I be building this lineup and having him only in stacks? I don't know. What's better or worse? But the actual, like, what are the chances that this guy is going to do well today is all done. It's all, I don't even care about it. No cares in the world. That's what the projections are for. So in DraftKings, I could look. Rudin Odor. It doesn't matter that he obviously is a 9.03 projection. He will never get 9 points. He will never get 9 points. Odor doesn't get 9 points. He gets 0 or he gets 14 plus. So that's what he is, right? Am I playing Aristides Aquino at 2,600 against Logan Allen? Maybe I am. Why? Because he projects well. That's it. There has to be a reason. Do you need to know the reason? I don't need to know the reason. Obviously, it's based on the pitcher, based on the park, based on the whatever, right? He has power, he has ISO, he is what I mean. Yes. If I digged into the research, it's gonna align with that. So why am I bothering spending the time to do that? It's already done for me. I think that's the biggest mindset that you have to get over, that most people don't get over. Most especially large field GPP players, they have their own models, or they're using a model, or they're aggregating models, and then they're just building plus EV lineups. So what's the point of paying for projections if you're not going to use them? I'm not going to build a model better than Cardi, right? I could build a model. I could use Excel. I used to be a computer programmer. I could teach myself some R and some Python, right? I'm an old school programmer, right? Perl. I could do it in Perl. I could probably do it in Perl. It'll be, why would I spend the time to do that? It would be ridiculously time intensive to program this type of stuff in Perl. Extremely limited. You're off by a period and the whole thing explodes. Right? You never do it in Perl. I could do it, but why? I'd rather pay him $300 and go, there, thank you, Cardi. Thank you for 5+ years of experience and the best model in the industry. That's all done for me. So you could do that. Go to RotoGrinders Premium. $10 off your first month. Hit the link in the description. You also get the bat, right? Get everything. Just get everything. Pay for everything. That's what it is at the end. It's Casual Friday. Now it's Pay Up Friday. You could also, and if you want to learn how to think in that mindset, how to view the projections, because that's what chapter 3 in my courses, player selection. I purposely named it player selection. So people are like, oh, this is the chapter where he tells us how to pick the right players. It's 2.5 hours, that chapter. And essentially that chapter is explaining what projections are. So you understand how they're made. So you understand what you're looking at. It's a basically this is a 2.5 hour basic statistics class. And then we get into expected value and leverage and correlation and construction and risk management, exploit, psychology. Learn how to play the game of DFS. Because once you have all this down into numbers, then now it's game theory time. Now it's game theory time. So go to theoryofdfs.com. Pick that up if you haven't. It's a one-stop shop. You have to worry about asking me any questions. It's all in there. It's 15 hours long. You could listen to it multiple times. People have emailed me. I've listened to it 4 times, 5 times already. Drill in the concepts. Play a little. Listen. Play. Listen. Play. Listen. You will get better. The first thing you have to do is embrace the fact that you're playing a game against other opponents that's based around math and probabilities and statistics, and not the sports are just the pieces that you play it with. Once you get it by there, then you start thinking like a professional DFS player. And there you go. Theoryofdfs.com. And that's it for Casual Friday. We got a 14-game slate, which means a lot of you could lose hope very quickly, right? Like, especially if it's like, oh, I'm going to take 2 stacks and whatever, and then some other team scores 8 runs in the first inning, and you just close your laptop. You could do that, right? It'll be like that. Then we got the weekend. starting to get a little bit warmer, right? We're getting warmer in April. But I'll be back. I'll be back on Monday. James will be back on Monday. Remember, every Monday, James McCool, my co-author for the Theory of Daily Fantasy Sports course, will be on Monday. So I'll see you then. As I'll see you every day, right? Every weekday. People ask about the weekends. Like, no. I need some time off myself. So I'll see you every day, every weekday, 11 o'clock in the morning for the DFS pregame show here on RotoGrinders.com.